What is going on? How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome to another episode of Zero to Hero, Season 3, Episode 8. Super excited for this week. Not because of my horse's performance, but because of some other Zed news. Before we get into Zero to Hero horse performance, while we wait for Zook, wanted to touch on two big updates to my website. So this is on the traditional version of Zetalytics. Been real busy with IRL stuff. Awesome. Hope it's all going well for you, Warka. But very cool. Very happy to have you here tonight. You too, Hillside. Always been a supporter since the beginning. I appreciate you both so much. So, some few updates to my site. One, now in the top right, you're going to see a view on Haku. Say that 5 times fast. Little disclaimer here, along with the horse ID number. If you click that horse ID number, that is going to take you directly to Haku's website where you can get all of the information on the horse. You could look to breed with it, create a bid, purchase if it's available for purchase. So super cool new feature that I'm really happy with. It feels great to be able to indirectly support Haku, who has been providing the backbone and the data for Zetalytics and all of my Zed content on my site. So super pumped about that. The other big thing is looking down. So I talk about all the time of having the different pieces to the puzzle of understanding a horse. And looking at things, especially now more than ever, looking at these triangle charts, white triangles being where your horse, the competition of your horse on average, and then the red being where you are. This will give you an idea of your standard deviations as well as your speed. And this is all normalized instead of just looking at raw speed data. So as you can see here with Gold War, that there's very clearly a down button here, 10, 12, as well as an up button, 24, 26. Okay, nothing new. We've all been aware of this before. But now, not only is that backed up by the data up top here, but it is now further supported. The bottom has now changed. Gait and overall finishes have been wiped away. Now you're going to see your finish distribution by funnel. And so all these filters up top should still work if you want to isolate, specific distances. If you want to isolate specific classes, you can drag these around. But now you should have a much clearer picture of exactly how your horse is finishing. So how is this? Bergie, what's up, my guy? So this is going to help you with things like understanding breeds. If you're trying to match up distance preference for breeds, throw a horse in here and you can see kind of where that's finishing. Okay, well, this seems to be a strong marathon, sprinter, or mid-distance, and my horse is, marathon. Cool, I can match it with Gold War. Speaking of Bergie, been running Gold War like crazy. Thank you so much. Part of my little MJ Jockey pilot program, which, depending on what happens with the whole Zed token and lending, could be hopefully growing pretty soon. Sniff, how you doing? Thanks for popping in. So again, helping from a breeding standpoint of understanding distance funnel preferences and aligning those, but also looking at for tournaments, how is my horse going to run in certain tournaments, different types of funnels, etc. Man of the hour is here, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone, welcome Zook.
What up, brother? How you doing?
Good. Before we got started, just wanted to just updating people on the 2 new updates to my site. So the funnel distances, finish distributions on the bottom, replacing gate and overall finish distribution. And then up top, the ability to just click on the horse ID and be taken directly to Haku.
Oh, wow. So, there you go.
Yeah. So bid, buy, breed, you get all of it right there. So how's your week been, man? How was your 4th?
Just relaxing. The best thing about having a Monday off is when you go back to work, you're closer to the weekend. So a relaxing weekend. My summers are easy, so not too much going on this week. How about you?
It was a little crazy.
Oh, wow.
There was, actually a shooting not too far from me in Illinois.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So that I wasn't directly affected, thankfully, in any capacity, but I had some friends, very close friends, who had their friends.
Was that major shooting near you?
Yeah.
With
the Highland Park one in Illinois? Yeah.
Yeah, that's you. Yeah. I was going to say the person's name. I don't even want to say the person's name out loud to give him due. But yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I didn't even put together. That's on me. And you know what? That's how fucked up everything is. Like, I don't even do the research into one now because it's just like, oh, there's one now. There's one next week. There's one 2 weeks ago. It's like, how sad is that I didn't know exactly where this is, because it's just like commonplace, because it happened like during a parade, and they're almost like as common as parades now. That's how sad it is.
Yeah, absolutely depressing. But on a happier note, we're here talking NFTs, Web3. I believe I heard a can open, and I got to ask. I ask on every show, what's the flavor tonight? What are we drinking?
Oh, this is regular. It's Wegmans. It's the same thing as last time. It's actually in a bottle, because what happened is my fiance hooked me up because I opened cans, and the problem is you're on a timer when you drink a carbonated drink and you open it and it's in a can for it to go out, and I don't drink it too fast. So now that I can put the cap back on, these last for longer. Like, honestly, I was throwing out like cans like half empty, like too many of them. So happy to be using a bottle now, saving the environment, one seltzer at a time, like the good Jewish boy I am.
I love it. I love it. I've got my Liquid Death now flat, so I don't have to deal with the can carbonation problem.
Oh, let's go.
And I'm double fisting tonight. I've got a Yingling with me as well.
Oh, so 2 things. Okay.
I'm going for a 2 for tonight.
You're crazy.
I know. It's wild. We only got a few episodes left. Horse has been running me crazy, so I figured I'm going all out tonight. And that is our new starter segment, Talking Water with Zook and MJ. So back to horses. I've been running Big Drip at 22, and I've been losing class points, but I'm still in class 3, and it has been a struggle. And then again, looking at triangles, if we look at finish distribution, like this horse just look how flat mid is.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, look how crazy. Like shifted over I wish Marathon was.
Yeah, that's tough.
So yeah, and then sprint is like I love 3rd and 9th, and everything in between equally.
Which doesn't do you too much good.
No, it really doesn't. I mean, that's almost perfectly balanced. So I mean, I'm still going to keep hammering these distances, and you can see now as I've gotten more races at distances with this horse that the speed is getting much closer to that middle, to that 0 mark. Yeah. I'm no longer looking super slow. We're looking at, slightly above 0.03, 0.11 to like minus 0.07, which really isn't that much.
Yeah, like this horse is fucking lost. Mm-hmm. That's honestly the word I would use to describe it. Just looking at your screen right now, looking at the stats, looking at the speed and the finish distributions, but mostly the speed up on my screen as well. Like for each of the races, you're not like you have no distance that you can really compete long term, and you don't have the down class equity with. Because the problem is some of the percentages are good, but 75% down class race is no good if that 25% you're pulling 1, 2, or 3, and you're pulling as many points. So like this is legit a lost horse in C3. And as we talked about, what's tough is you get to C4, you're rocking. Like you get to C4, you have a few distances where your win equity probably isn't going to be that great, but in double ups, you could potentially take a chance. In freeze, like podium plates and stuff like that, you definitely have a chance. But like it's going to be variance to get you out of this. Like you have to hit the variance of getting the amount of D classes in a row. Like you need reverse variance almost.
Yeah. And you can see it. Like I've had a few like small streaks, but no, I completely agree. And my problem with getting down to class 4, and this is a big disclaimer to all new players, and I know it's kind of obvious, but I see it happen all the time. And this horse is a perfect example of it. When you get down to that class, you think, okay, great, I'm in the clear. All it takes is one solid race. And you're not only, it's not just like, oh, I'm up and I'll come down right away. Yeah. No, you could be locked up there for a few races. So like when you down class, it's not enough to just get to, in this case, C4. I've got to be sitting like mid C4. So, yeah, but
what happened?
I have a solution.
What happened with 1200?
With 12?
Yeah. I see 2 races, both flames. I know the finish distribution isn't great, but like I'm legit just trying to figure like this horse is just so I'm just sitting here trying to like nitpick now. Like
no, go for it.
Potentially do to like get anything. Look, is 1,000 and 1,400 good? No. But if you were asking me, I would say if any funnel, it leans the leftist at sprints. So now you have a distance that legit you pulled flames twice and the distribution isn't nice. And if we take a second, the speed isn't killer.
No, it's not. It won't cut it.
Yeah. Yeah. You would have to. Yeah. It wouldn't. It probably would end up looking exactly like 10 and 14, which, as you can see, is straight pity.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I agree. And I think it's going to be slightly less than that, racing pity, like.
Yeah, of course.
And getting pity on that day. Yeah, with the competition in there. So I was going to save this till the end, and maybe I'll tease it now and expand upon it later. I'm being hopelessly, they're hopeless romantics. I'm hopelessly optimistic. Not for this horse, but for the future of this horse. Because this horse has, I'm not even going to say it's strong base, but it has some C3 sprint and mid. I would like to just hit it with a crazy variance roll and see what I can get from an offspring. That to me is the only way out. I don't think it's going to result in anything spectacular right away. And that's going to be a long game as well. But I think it's still a long shot. Again, hopeless optimistic. But
yeah, I mean, I'm hitting a lot of buttons because I'm looking at the torts. I'm trying to see. So it's yeah. I mean, I don't hate it. I would. The interesting thing is, it is. I would hit it with a variant sprinter and take a chance with it. Being a Z13 legendary, you're still carrying a decent amount of base ability, especially at, it's the perfect chart for your sprint, basically, that it's a little bit of a base ability horse with not much variance or preference. That's why it's leaning left a little, but doesn't have that extra oomph. So, yeah, I mean, if you were to hit this horse with a crazy variance one, I don't know what would happen. My problem is, like, is this variance too low, like in this horse, that, like like how much realistically are you going to actually spend for the highest of quality to put in here? Like, could that variance counteract how little variant this horse is? But then the question is it more variant or is it more preference? If you're already establishing that you want to breed it, that's kind of the next question. And I guess you're saying that push comes to shove, first shot, you think variance and RNG is the way to breed this horse out?
I think you said it perfectly. You asked some really good questions there. Okay, one, hey, Red Snap. Given the choice, I don't think I would want to breed this horse. It would not be in my top list of horses to breed within my stable. But for the sake of Zero to Hero and going through the simulation of this is my only horse, what do I do? To your point, I think a really high variance sprinter is the way to go. But at that same time, what is the point of like, how much do I have to pay up for that? And what is my expected value from that? And do the economics of that make sense? So curveball here, because you brought up some really good points. Would it make most sense to just try and dump this horse and get anything I possibly could for it and then try and basically start over? That might be Zero to Hero Season 4 right there.
You got to pray with, like, I would breed this out with the prayer that you pull grandpa stats from Perfect Stride, because Perfect Stride carries a crazy amount of base ability, and a really, 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 really good amount of DP at 12, and an above average, average to above average RNG. So from a breeding standpoint, like the Big Drippo Ruby's dad isn't the best breeder, but its stats could allow it to pass on some good things. So if Big Drippo Ruby did pull from Perfect Stride, there is that opportunity. And we've seen plenty of times, like I'm not going to say it's the most likely scenario or even a highly likely scenario, but we've seen it happen enough that we know it is the case that some of these horses are legitimately doing nothing other than passing on their parents' stats because they're having offspring that look nothing like them, but look kind of like their parents. So that could happen here as well. And I don't know. The next point from that is I don't know if that's enough to match up your breed with those parents' stats, but I think it's enough to, hey, that Perfect Stride's close enough to Big Drippo Ruby that if you match something up with Big Drippo Ruby and it passes on Perfect Stride's abilities, you could potentially get a good horse. Because like I'm saying, if you were just going to breed Perfect Stride, you would breed it with a variant sprinter. So that's what you're doing here with its offspring.
So I think that's a really cool strategy of like, then you're kind of in a middling horse situation. Look to the strongest grandparent that is expressing traits in the offspring. Pretend like you're breeding with that grandparent. I love that. I think that's really, really smart.
Because, right, like Super Chic is a not very baseable, not very preferent, but if it was preferent, more mid, and a little bit of variance where you can already tell Big Drip for being a leg, what its two big things are that it has. Its main thing is it's baseable. Like it's Big Drippo Ruby, has a higher base ability than Super Chic. So you can already tell just from that Big Drippo Ruby is clearly pulling from Perfect Stride. So I think it's a great, great, great strategy to kind of see what parent your horse maybe lines up more with and match up something with that just as much as your horse in general. Because, hey, look, if you're praying at the end of the day that Big Drippo Ruby passes down Perfect Stride stats, maybe you do go all in. Like maybe you match up with Perfect Stride anyway. And if it hits, you walk away with one of those, crazy stories. Like there's horses like Banala or some other horses that I can't think of for some reason where both parents stink and is clearly just pulling from the grandparents. And that's what breeding 2.0 has allowed, it seems.
I love it. I love it. That's chef's kiss. Love it. Beautiful. So my next question to you is, you're in my situation there, or you're just in the situation of this is your only horse. How much are you going to spend to breed this horse out? What are you trying to target? And we can talk about this more, when we close out the season.
No,
don't have to have an answer now if you don't have it. But I'm putting you on the spot here.
Go with. See, the interesting question about that is, and I'll give this question back to you. Do you think more people are basing decisions off bankroll or are basing bankroll off decisions? Like, are more people basing breeding this horse? Like, are they walking in with a certain bankroll that then we have to like nail it down? Like, is that the strictest portion of it? Or are they more loose into, hey, I can kind of go across between like 0.03 to 0.08 if there's like an amazing deal for like 0.08? Like, how do you think more people, if we're saying that this is your only horse, you're kind of playing that game, how is that person most likely making that choice even to start?
I think they're going the first route you said of like, hey, I have 0.08. That's my cap.
Okay. For someone with a horse like this, that it's their only horse, just to give me a little framework for my answer, what do you think the average bankroll cap is? If a horse like this that you bought, a Z13 with Zabo Genesis blood, what type of bankroll? You think this person is 0.0? You think this person has 0.08? Are we saying 0.05? Probably. Like, could this person even breed with a Zabo Genesis out of house minimum right now? If we know that minimum is like 0.052, I think 0.055.
Yeah, I've been looking at doing some analysis, testing some things out, which I made debut on episode 10, looking at the high variance horses and how to identify those very quickly at scale for the average person without using any sort of bot, anything like that. And from what I'm seeing for like a lower Z, the price is really reflective of the Z number. So if, I could breed with a high variance Z20 plus for 0.03, 0.02 pretty comfortably. But if we want to start getting down into like the Z sub Z15, I'm looking to your point, like above 0.05, 0.08, and even higher. So I guess, going further down the rabbit hole, is there a Z number that you care about hitting? Would you hit a Z20 for 0.02? Or would you try and save up, 0.05 for maybe a Z10, 0.08 for something a little lower, but that's going to be a little hard to hit.
What is the value of variance in today's game? Like, with how nerfed it is breeding, like, it's just like, I honestly haven't bred for like variance in a long time, just because, like, for me, all the stats have shown it's so nerfed, and as you try and breed bloodlines down, like if something's going to continually be nerfed at like such a high percentile, they've really taken that aspect like out of breeding. And I've really bred mostly for DP, but if you were to breed this horse, let's just say if you were to breed this horse with like a high variance horse, what's your best case, like, and you get the offspring of your dreams in obviously a realistic scenario of like what could actually pop out of this horse for the price frame, like what does that offspring look like, best case scenario? Because where I'm going with that is, like, if you're not a paid racer, I'm actually noticing variance sucks. if you're not a paid rate. Like I'm breeding, like I was breeding a little variance for some free racers, and like with some of these tournaments, finishing in last in like a Fibonacci, or like a podium plate, or even sometimes a keep on winning, even though not so much of that, but still, like it kills you. So like again, it's one of those where the variance horses do better when they get into the tournament playoffs, but have such a tough time getting into them that it just deals with like it's a tough style of play to, even if your chances go way up when you make the tournament, like you could potentially with a variance horse just go like we had one that just won the semifinals like the other day. It hasn't been in a tournament in like 3 weeks. It might be not be in a tournament in another 3 weeks with us running it every day. Like it's such a variance horse that the type of style with that is tough. That like, is that the type of horse you get out of this horse? You think like is that best case scenario, like a high enough variance where if it was to get into a tournament, it could like flame and win one, and you're just going with the daily struggle? Could you potentially? Do you think you can produce a paid runner out of this?
Geez, maybe. So I don't know if this is going to answer your question or not, but here's my thought, and let me know what you think. So I'm going to hit variance. I would try and target 0.05 or below that. And the reason why I would do that is one, breeding DP and base is so easy and predictable, and you can do it pretty cheap.
Yeah, you can.
Going with the assumption that this is my only horse in my stable, I think I have to take that chance because that's going to, I think, set me up better long term for performance. It may, I may have my own different set of challenges if this ends up being a solid, and by that I mean C4, C3 with decent, not great variance horse. It's going to have a different set of challenges, but I think it also opens up breeding window and diversity for breeding in the future. So that's my hope. I'd hate to be stuck with another, distance preference or try and like drill down, breed this with another high distance preference sprinter, solid base. Like I'd hate to keep feeding that in. I think that's, maybe not. Maybe that's the long game to play.
Yeah.
It's arguably cheaper, but I think and more predictable, but I think it's a much longer term process.
I'm sitting here thinking like the better advice might be to honestly sell it. If you already have 0.05, you take what you can get from this horse. Wait, Dink Phantom just won 700. That's kind of cool.
Whoa, let's pull that up.
Why don't they tell me shit? Or maybe that's what my chat is going in about. Oh, wait. How the fuck?
Let's go. Wait.
Yo, oh my God. Galactic's going to go nuts.
Let's fucking go.
1800.
Congratulations, man.
We won we won a 700, 1800.
Whoo!
Yo, against Third Head, Star Strider, Diamonds, Vanilla Bean, Evergreen Gates.
Wow. We'll get this up. And
no, so what I was saying is I think it may be better to honestly, because I see some things for like they're not are crazy, but I bought some like 0.05 to like 0.08 horses that I just think are better than what the average breed would be if you spent like 0.05 on that horse. It's a conundrum. It's a conundrum.
I kind of see that. I agree with that. So like what is look at the skin too. What is the cutoff then? So like does breeding for smaller stables not make sense in a lot of cases, in your opinion?
Yeah. Sometimes, honestly. Like, I don't even want to say that as like a
It's
bad
not. Yeah.
thing. Like,
No. It's just
sometimes
the
I just
economics
don't
of it.
think it's genuinely worth it to breed if there's already stuff out there that might be a little better. Like, if you don't have something that good, a lot of times you're probably not going to get something that good out of it. So you might as well just kind of start over from scratch. So yeah, it's tough, but I mean, then again, you're going down to one horse, or maybe some people want to play the game where they still see value in having like two. Like, if they sold this to buy something with this in their breeding money and they got a single horse, maybe they still see value in knowing for certain they have a female breeding stuff out. So there's many different ways, but honestly, for me, gun to head, you have to make a single decision. I'm probably selling and trading up for something. I find a lot you can find some cheap, like, low class grinders out there where you would have to grind, but like that's what you're gonna have to do with this offspring anyway. And at least these ones that are already raised have a roadmap for you. So it's not perfect, and there may not even be one in your price range. So you always got to look. But at first, I would look on the market to see if there's something there before I considered breeding.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. We're about to hit the last 400 meters here for Dang Phantom, just crushing everyone.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Not even close. Not even close.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Let's go. Congratulations.
I'm one of the few that got a breeding 1.0 breed and breeding 2.0. So,
all right, we've talked enough about congratulations, man. That's amazing. Huge win.
Yeah,
we talked enough about my horse.
That's this fucking horse should have been the one on this show. I didn't even want to breed Dang Phantom, so I was like, I guess we're going to my horse now, so it's kind of a segue. Yeah. I bred Phantom Ambassador specifically for this show with Heroin, and that's his Phantom Pacer with Ambassador, and he's like, hey, I really want to try, Dank with Phantom Pacer as well. So I said, okay. I kept Phantom Pacer and like the rule with my stable, we said we would keep one for the show and we would run one like before the show started. And I thought Phantom Pacer Ambassador Baby would be better, Phantom Agent. So we held that one for the show and we started running Dang Phantom, and wow, what a flip. And look, Dang Phantom, I mean, Phantom Agent in no means is terrible. Still, again, like, did the same thing since our last episode, made like another 0.01 in profit, I'm pretty sure. So it's like slowly, like grinding, where if we run it through stamina every day, and I've left this show saying different things, a lot of episodes, like sometimes I'm going to run it free, sometimes I'm going to run paid. I didn't realize there's no like even right way to run this horse because it's so like meh. Like, you can run paid, you can run free, you can like decide whatever you want to do that week. If you just run Phantom Agent to stamina each and every week, it's going to get to that cost that we said that is the goal of this horse. And it could be 3 months, it could be a year, it could be next month if it makes a few tournaments. Like, eventually it's going to get there. It's just the time, and how long does it take? Can it sneak into some tournaments? If it gets into 4 tournaments over the course of a month, are those 4 tournaments happening over the course of a week and then it's 3 weeks off? Are they spread out across? So it's just sticking to it with this horse. And I don't want to say this because it's a bad thing to say, and I would never tell anyone to operate with this. But like,
say it.
Honestly, I'm already. This is a for-profit horse in my mind. Like, I'm already assuming that I've made my money back because I know it's just time needs to catch up to it. So like, I'm not worried about this horse like being at a loss ever. Plus, another good thing to bring up, and I don't even know if we've touched on this. We also have the fact that with the cost, I could always sell this horse to make back cost plus losing a decent amount. Like this cost in house was 0.08. Like this blood, I can I could, you know what I mean? Like if this profit went to zero, it stayed zero forever, but this blood stayed with like a 16 win percentage, I could always flip this horse to make money. And when you have that type of horse, it makes testing things out and racing a little bit better. Where, last episode we were talking about, you need to, you're selling it at cheaper to then add the racing amount to it to just get back to even. This is kind of the opposite, where you operate the whole time like in the green. At any point, you can sell this for a profit. So you have that ability to test things that maybe you couldn't with other styles of having to race horses to get that money back.
Absolutely. It's like, to your point, like you're in a great spot because you have options. It's not so much that you've hit profit right now. It's your option. It's the quality of the blood. It's selling for, 0.06. It's continuing to race. Like you're in a, on paper at 0.04 right now. Somebody say, that's not great, but you have so many options.
And it's a cult. So like we could stud it eventually. And this is not a horse. Because people have obviously different stable makeups. Like I would probably not take a stud from this horse personally. If I wanted like this type of horse, I could probably pull from elsewhere from like in stable. So if I was to put this out, it would be out there to get like recoup money on like all three. So like you're saying, we've just been racing it to get profit, during these weeks. There's many different ways, and it starts with the key where I had an asset where the salvage value immediately was higher than the cost, and that's like a really weird thing to say out loud.
Right?
That's what these Z2 legendaries allow you. So when you work with that, there's different ways that you can play that game when you're starting in the green. And it's nice that we from the first week we were able to easily establish that this horse was almost never going to be negative. At worst, you'd have down weeks, but we forecasted, you can go back and watch the first episode. We forecasted at the minimum that this horse would be a break-even horse. I think we actually said this verbatim. At worst, it's a break-even horse that because it's a Z2 Nakamoto legendary with this blood, we can always sell it for plus value. And I think it's stuck to that. I don't see any scenario where it would ever fall to below zero profit if we ran it on similar style. Obviously, if we went out and placed it in $100 buy-in because we're like being assholes that day, that's how it would happen. But if we run mostly free $2.50 C1 races in funnel, this horse would just be a fun one to play with. I see a scenario easily would be one if renting comes out, would be one of the first ones. We'd be like, someone rent it, run it in freeze, like give us 50% or however that works. So yeah, like as the game grows, we're surely not rushing to sell this because of the many different ways to recoup other than just the profit that you see from racing on different sites such as Haku.
Yeah. I love it. It's exciting. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I mean, what would you do? Like, what? I mean, you studied out. I mean, like honestly, in a perfect world, this is probably a horse where like my stable never runs when this game is in a final form. It's in a renting barn, and anyone that wants to rent it to run, like any rental income, will take as positive. But with this type of blood being a Z2, it should be a passive. Put it in the stud barn, get 3 each month at minimum. I don't give a hell. Like at minimum, easily. And then if anyone were to rent it and win anything, we take that. But minimum Naka split in house, that's like 0.11 a month passive from this horse. So yeah, definitely not rushing on from it just because we expected it to be the killer that our other horses, and this one ends up being the one that's more of the grinder per se.
Yeah, I'd personally lock up any breed I wanted with it before it hits the next level of degradation, but you have plenty of time for that.
Yeah.
And I would take that for myself. Maybe, it's one out of the three for 3 months. And then I guess I'll use the cliche of like just time value of money. I would stud it out immediately, try and get it back, like get to EV positive right away, and then you're just sitting on it. You can breed it out, you can sell it, you can do whatever. Then because you've got the future lineage locked up, you're maintaining value, you've gotten your value back. Like I would personally race to get money back. I know you have it in so many different ways, but I guess that if I had this horse, that's what I would do.
Yeah, in the in-house line, the in-house breeds we would line up would probably specifically be either Ambassador or Phantom Pacer, non-killer breeds. That the purpose of that breed would, if it's a baby of those, it's either a Z2 or a Z3 legendary as well, passing two okay horses of the other ones at the level of Phantom Agent. That, like we said with your horse, we're even talking about the same thing, with higher blood type and breed type. Yep. I'm breeding those and hoping that, it pulls from the grandparents on both sides. And maybe if, you have these higher level grandparents on both sides, your chances of pulling from one goes up. So that's the scenario where I could see, me definitely taking one from this. And we have a ton of bad Ambassador offspring from breeding 1.0 that are females. So yeah, definitely when we start, we'll probably take like one just to see if we can ever hit that magic that, you're trying to hit.
Yeah.
With Perfect Stride when you breed that. So, it's interesting how we're tapping two different style of horses from two distinct bloodlines and breed types, but, similar philosophies when we talk about breeding them in the future. And our best case scenario comes from breeding from one line above and not from our horse itself, which is kind of cool and pretty interesting. It shows you that it doesn't matter cost basis, what kind of horse you have, how much money you get into this game with. There's similar philosophies and strict ways that you can play this game that, there's a million ways to skin the cat, but there's also one way to skin the cat that works no matter where you are. And it's just, learning those fundamentals and sticking with them no matter what quality or caliber or class you find yourself in with that horse.
Well said. Very, very well said. Anything else you want to cover on Phantom Agent?
No. This horse is so, like, every single week we could change the dates on the graph, and it looks very similar. It's pretty U-shape. Sometimes more on the left side, sometimes more on the right side. When it's more on the right side, it's a little negative for the week. When it's on the left side, it's normally a little bit more positive those weeks, and that's why it's added up to 0.04. But
that's a great spot to be in, though.
Yeah, anybody could run this horse just as well as we're doing it. Like, there's legitimately nothing more that anyone can do with the horse than we're doing it. So yeah, it's racer or breeder in Zed's final form. This horse is more like the definition of, a breeder, that you're hoping that enough people find quality in the blood that if you put it out there for a lower price, you can reap the benefits each and every month. And, you're not doing anything with this horse other than pushing that one button once a month.
Yeah. Oh, the dream.
Yeah. And I don't even know, like, again, like, would people, I don't know how much people see blood. I know there's a huge contingent of people out there that don't even think like you can't pull from grandparents. So who's to know, like, how much a horse like this that really on itself isn't that great of a racer. Like, I would like to see the stats pulled of, like, legendary Nakamotos put out there for minimum. How many of them reach all three studs? Because you have to think most of them don't, right? If they're not in-house.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I've got one that hasn't hit anything. It's not a good horse.
Yeah. So I'd be interested to see, like, I think if it's a legendary, there's so many good legendaries that are put out at like 0.11, 0.12, 0.13 that to put out at minimum, it's tough. It's tough. So I don't want to sit here and make it seem that this horse would be like the ultimate passive profit maker, but I would hope that with the style of horse, in terms of its parents, there's enough believers in grandparent blood that if we priced it low enough, it would be the main way of making income on this horse. But I've never played the game that way. We've never played that game. We never played the game that way ever. So really using breeding as a first step to make profit on a horse is going to be a learning process for us. Because, you know, if the first way to make money off a horse is anything other than racing, we normally just sell it at that point. But, you know, Breeding 2.0 has changed that. And that's the great thing about Breeding 2.0.
Exciting times. Speaking of exciting times, we've got a request from Red Snap. Red Snap, I hope you're still here. Advice on if the horse Go Long is a good buy for the price. It's advertised at 0.59 ETH in the market for a female Z2 legendary. So again, talking about Z2s, we'll throw it in here and on my site as well. Coming out of Poseidon, 15% winner. It's like somewhat left leaning in the sprinter side of things. It's run recently. Let's see what we got here.
What's the name of this horse?
Go Long. I love the name.
The name is solid.
Reminds me of Rex Grossman.
0.59.
Surface level, that feels a little high, but it is a Z2. So maybe not. So
considering the stable that it's from, I don't even know if it's even priced to sell, where I would definitely make an offer and not want to purchase it at that price. It's light. I like the horse. That's a steep price to pay no matter what. I want to see how much of the profit has come from.
It's showing promise, but it's very few races. Like, it's so.
In the past 2 months, it's ran 12 races. 3 of those have been wins. In open class. That's a few Class 1 wins in May at 1,400.
Yeah.
This is an interesting horse. This is a really, really interesting horse.
So here's what jumps out at me here. And I know this is... So of the 13, I'm not looking at Discovery or tournaments or anything like that. I'm just looking at actual performance. So at 14... I know it's 2 races I have listed here, but seeing a speed difference of 0.34 is like astronomically high.
Yeah.
And the fact that these 2 are somewhat close together tells me, like, if there was one out here and then one like right over here, I'd be like, don't love that. But this is showing me that, okay, we're seeing it's 2 races, but the start of a cluster here at a significantly higher speed compared to the competition in Class 1 free. And variation is really tight. So yeah, I mean, it also pulled an 8th. It doesn't mean it can down class.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited by it. Who are the parents? Talking about grandparents and blood and all of that. Ace of Spades and Wall Street. Fuck me. I like it just for the names. Judge me for it.
I don't know. I don't hate it. I don't love it. That's how I'll put it.
I like that. Red Snap is here. Good. Trying to get for under 0.5. So okay, what throw a price out? What would you ballpark this at? What would you 0.35? Go super low. 0.4.
I don't even shop in this arena to like give an accurate representation.
Yeah.
My one like for this like so all I want to do is answer the specific question. I would probably not spend the asking price on this horse. Great horse. There's a price that I would spend on it. 0.59 for something that hasn't ran that much recently. It's almost like buying a UU in this environment because who knows if it could hang with all the new horses in the new breeding. I think there's better ways to spend that. And if you did buy this at 0.59, I don't think it's the worst way anyone has spent 0.59. So definitely not the worst case scenario if you fell in love with this horse and just needed to buy it. But I personally would not spend 0.59
on it. So you're looking for a female. So to me, that says you want some breeding out of this, some breeding outcome out of this. I'd go back to our conversation earlier and, isolate, okay, what does my stable currently look like? Match up distance preferences, go on Haku. Are you playing the, distance preference base game? Are you going to add variance? He just sold me the greenback for 0.25. I would almost play that game and match it up. Like if go long matches kind of what you think you're looking for, that could work out. But I think you could get a better deal. Ooh, this looks kind of fun. Class 3 win fire. Huh. Interesting.
I have been liking though what I have been liking what like Breeding 2.0 has done to this market though. Who knows if all these purchases in the long run, will be good values at the end of the day. But it's fun waking up and seeing some of these, UUs going for what they're going for.
Yeah.
It's fun. So I root for them because it's good when these early ones end up being good because it gives people more confidence to continue in that style. But yeah, the Breeding 2.0 and the Stud Sniper, it's the game has changed, and I think it's pretty good.
Game is changing. We have the token coming out soon. Quote unquote trademark, and we have double ups now in effect. So those are if you've still got some time, we're about at the hour mark.
Yeah.
But those are two things just kind of Zed news wise I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Quick. It's quick on both of them anyway. My opinions is the token I've never cared about. Like I don't say that good or bad. Like I just legitimately don't care about it. So like I hope for the people that have been waiting for it and expect it to do a certain thing, like it does everything that they want us to do. Like I just haven't thought about it. I don't care about it. I don't think anyone's getting any amount that's going to be like life-changing anyway. So I don't think it's going to do that much. So if they give it out and it's like a dividend where, they give me a bunch and I can run to sell it, like I'll be very thankful and I'll only say nice things. But in terms of, am I looking forward to it in the way that I see people on Twitter, talking about it all the time? I don't have like that much of a fascination with it. The double ups I do. The double ups I'm very interested in. And the double ups we're running as many as we can because I'm really interested to get the numbers on if the double ups actually produce the best ROI. And it's tough to even get those numbers because you have to understand like the fields may be weaker because more people are willing to go into double ups. So you may be getting firsts in those because they're against weaker fields. but I'm still going to run the numbers where, say a horse in 2 weeks of double ups made this much. If those races just paid out 1, 2, and 3 at the rates that they normally do, would the ROI have been higher or have been lower? And again, because of the competition, it's nowhere near perfect. But
Yeah.
I want to see how close or far those numbers are, because there's definitely a limit where it doesn't matter how different the competitions are, that there's an answer that could stick out. So I know myself, and I've heard from a lot of people that those numbers will be run, and people are excited to see, because we have this illusion, but like if you come in sixth on a $2.50 race, you only win 50 cents, and then if you come in seventh, you lose it all. So it takes 5, 6th place to make back that 7th place. But like some people get the illusions 1 6th, 1 7th. Oh, double ups are amazing. I'm winning 50% of the time. It's like, nah, but your ROI isn't as high. And you keep then putting it in because you're like, oh, I came in top 6 in 50% of my double ups today. It's like, nah, they're not actually double ups, and you're down money on the day.
So I'll start with double ups. I spot checked. I haven't raced in any myself yet. I'm hoarding my ETH for an upcoming drop. And I'm in my just kind of spot checking them, whether it's class 1, class 2, class 4, class 5. BB12, just to answer your question, they're out now, right now. It'll say like 6 next to the race. I've noticed that there are, almost always 4 to 5 monster horses in those races.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily going to say that it's easier or harder than anything else, but it's a good. It creates a place for certain horses that maybe didn't have a place before, which is fantastic. But I don't think it's like the bulletproof answer that we need right now. I love it. I'm all for it. I want to see more of it. I think it's a huge step in the right direction, but I think they're going to be a little harder than some people realize. Yeah, it's a top 6. Sorry, BB.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm excited, but just looking at like trying to do some analysis on the competition that's in there, to your point, there are some very, very solid horses, even down in class 5, racing in those races. But that takes those horses out of other races.
Yeah.
So while it may not be effective there, maybe it's going to make free racing a little easier. So I overall, I think it's great. I haven't done it yet. I plan on doing it. I plan on researching it more, doing more analysis on it.
That's another point that
long term.
That's another point that is slept on. Like it's a good point that like the more you offer and the more levels, like it was kind of like paid racing and free racing for tournaments. Now if there's paid racing, paid race double ups, and free tournaments, like some of those top tournament racers maybe see more positive ROI in top 6, that it does open up those tournament fields that could be a lot better, where people might not like double ups now because they're in that mode because it's so early of entering the double ups. But maybe when they go back to freeze, they may seem that some of the horses that they were constantly losing to are now using their stamina in double ups that those freeze have opened up.
This is a huge step in the right direction. BB12 says, got me hyped for a second. Fields are getting harder in top 6. Free cut seemed lower today. That's what you want to see.
Yeah.
That's what you want to see.
Because people with good horses want definite ROI. So if they can get that each day from double ups, they don't want to grind in free races to then not place in the tournament. So it's very easy for some of these horses to see, hey, like, yeah, I have horses that lean left in paids, but like we're getting a lot of fourths in these double ups. Hey, we're going to in these top 6s, we're going to use more of our stamina to the paids and leave the freeze. And it's nice to, I didn't know that myself. I didn't see that myself, but I'm obviously going to believe him. Free cut seeming lower. That's great news.
Yeah, that's amazing news. It just huge really good step in the right direction. I'm excited for it. Let's keep these going, and let's expand upon it, and let's let kind of things settle where they will, and hopefully we'll start to see things settle better. And that's something to strive for too. Okay, I've got free racers now. I can race in top 6.
Yep.
Now I can race in, and even if it's, hey, I'm only class 5 free, and then I'm only class 5 top 6. Like there's still a sense of achievement there, I would think. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. I don't know. This is either going to be really long or really short. I have much stronger opinions on the token. This to me is the fulcrum of the future of Zed. That probably makes no sense, but this to me opens the door for so many on paper great things. This makes lending easier. This makes payouts easier. This makes breeding. This makes incentivization easier. All great things. But I've seen this happen with other games where it's not the token itself, it's the timing. And how are you balancing your market? And so again, just like the basic economics of what is the incentive for people to use something, and why would they do it, and what are they going to get out of it? How's it going to help them? Looking at that and addressing that with, so like the size of the ecosystem with what you can do within that ecosystem. It's tough. It's really hard to do right.
Yeah, and if you give out more token than like people need, obviously they're not holding on to it. They're gonna run and sell it, and then it kind of tanks. So it's managing that minutia of, I agree with you, not the token itself, but setting time and place. And if you insert a commodity like that in a place where it doesn't belong, you can never go back from that. Legit, never.
Yes. Yeah. So that's and I've seen it firsthand from quality projects with great teams and the best of intentions. And whether it's the NFT value, the token value, the ecosystem, it's such a hard balancing act to do. So I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah.
I would love to see, long-term incentives for multiple uses, but we'll see what's going to happen. Only time will tell.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, like I've said, I haven't even thought about it too much because I'm not too concerned with it. But when I say this, I genuinely mean it. I hope it goes very smoothly.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Need it to go very smoothly.
Yeah, because if it goes smoothly, I think good things are going to happen in terms of horse values stabilizing, pun intended. Yep. But if it goes horribly, there's going to be a lagging effect of horse values decreasing. And that is not something I would be looking forward to right now. Jay Reese asks, any other comments on the token before we go to his comment?
No, that's it. Yeah, it's. I hope it goes smoothly because, like you said, if it does, it opens up a lot. So,
oh my gosh, so many opportunities. Jay Reese asks, you guys think they're still planning on releasing Surface Preference? So from the AMA, I saw that Surface Preference has been, it's off the roadmap basically. Yeah. They feel it creates too much, not segmentation, I don't think that's the right word, but just like too much of a nitpicky racing environment. So that's going to be a while before that comes back. I think it's very low priority. And then Sniff says, has any game successfully implemented their own currency? So we're getting tons of questions. Keep them coming. So I'm going to say, by my definition, no. Because a lot of the currencies that are out in the broader P2E ecosystem that I am in, they're still evolving and growing the game. Like, it's not like a final form. And you can make the argument that a game would never be in its final form in this space. Sure. There are two examples that come to my mind of projects that are doing it well with where they're at currently. One being Crypto Raiders. So, I mean, yes, prices have changed over the course of time, but there is a level of consistency, and I feel that the team does a very good job responding to the market, analyzing the market, and making adjustments accordingly. Their one of their tokens, their in-game currency token, I think is still sitting at like 3 cents, and their governance token, I may be saying that incorrectly here, but their other token is significantly higher. So they're taking steps to understand their player base, understand their market, understand the motivation for using or expending the token, what that does for their NFTs. I think they're approaching it very well, in my opinion. The other one that's not nearly as far along in development, they've got their MVP out. They're going to be rolling out version 2 soon. And I've talked about this game before, it's 2112.run. And so they look at all of the different, we'll call them raids that you can go on. And they know the floor, the ceiling, and the expected average amount of token that you can get. They can then adjust that on the fly based off of the performance to help stabilize their economy. It's also a fixed supply, and their motivation, their utility around the token, things for physical, I don't know if this is fully out yet, but physical merch, cold wallets, whitelist spots, other NFTs in the future. Like, they're building a marketplace around using so many different uses for their token, along with analyzing, again, how much is going to the players, how much is coming back. I just think they're going about it so intelligently. So those are two that stick out to me. I don't know if you have any experience with any or any thoughts, comments.
I lost a lot of money in Axie Infinity. Besides that, I've never had any, never been in any game that has its own currency. I'm pretty simple right now. I'm Zed, I'm Photo Finish, I'm TRV, and I'm Footium. And as more games kind of pop out, I'm gonna go to them. But those are really my core four. And if you know those, obviously they don't have in-game currencies yet. So this will be my first, my first go around with the token. But again, more and more, I'm just trying to look at these things as more like games, which is what they are. So I've never been obsessed with a token, or thought a token was going to save us, or thought that, if I had assets that are now down 75%, Zed was going to give me back a token that was going to make me whole. So whatever I get, and I'm kind of happy to be like that, because again, I'm not looking at it from a negative standpoint either. I think whatever I get from it, I'm going to be happy with it. Whereas I think people that are considering, have dived into it and thought about it so much, if they don't get out of it the specific thoughts that they think, they might not like it. But for me, it's legit gravy. So any extra value that it provides to me, obviously, I'm ecstatic.
Yeah.
Even if that means and I don't want to suggest this, and I'm not saying this is good, but if it's they give me a token that I have no use for it other than going to quick swap, and it's a few $100s, you're not gonna find me on Twitter complaining about a dividend. You're not gonna find me on Twitter complaining about a dividend. So for me personally, because I assume obviously it's gonna do something. The fact that it does something, I'm probably gonna be happy with it because I'm expecting nothing from anything.
Sure. And that's a great mindset to have.
I think you're kind of as much. I think you're kind of like that, but more from a global thing, where I think you're more so listing all the ideas that you think can come of it, more so of picking your favorites, or which ones you'd rather have. So I think you're in a more similar spot where I'm closing my eyes, where you more so have identified every single scenario. But unless it crashes the market, I think me and you are pretty much, we'll take whatever we can get if it doesn't kill the game.
Absolutely. I'm personally talking about those other games. I'm so fascinated with economies of NFT games. Yeah, I just find it so interesting. I've started to take courses on economics because of it.
Have you read The
And
Network State?
I have not. No,
You should look
I'll
into
check that
it.
out.
It's not specifically about cryptocurrency
Sure.
um
Yeah.
like economies, but it's this huge book now in this space about how like you can create quote unquote nation states in the virtual world that have nothing to do with actual physical geography, and the belief that that's actually going to be because it kind of is now happening more and more as we move forward. So it's like, how do you go about like creating like a state legit? And that's like what every single one of these like communities, whether it's the Knights, whether it's Gutter Cats, whether it's like Bored Apes, like they're all mini nation states. Like they're trying to create their own little things. So I haven't read it,
100%.
but you mentioned that, and I've seen a ton of people that like I don't even know them, like I just respect them and follow them on Twitter in this space that have been talking about like this one specific book. So I just didn't know if you had read it or not.
I hadn't. That's fascinating. I love that concept. Like when you think about like my portfolio, so to
Yeah,
speak, is I'm very much intrigued on getting into experiences
yeah,
around that. Like Knights of Degen, I had a very small like blink of time with them. I bought the steeds from you, and I got into fan controlled football, but just kind of lurking in the Discord and just seeing what they're about is fantastic. And yeah, I hate myself for saying this, but it's truly a community. They're building an ecosystem. That's a better
yeah.
word. I like that word so much better.
Because they
Um,
get, and not to give people like a finance lesson on like what our individual thoughts about like NFTs are, but they get like like they don't want their floor price to be low, but they get the value of like having like a 0.25 floor price over having like a 10 ETH floor price, because a lot of times those projects with the 10 ETH floors, the only thing that they're providing is the opportunity for people to tweet like, hey, what the floor is at. Like
right.
Knights, they don't care like what the floor is at. Like when you talk about community, just even like to piggyback off that, every day at 3 p.m. this week, I've been in the Creeptown Footium Knights of Degen Discord, and it's just
Yeah.
like 10 to 15 people watching the Footium game together every single day at like 3 o'clock. So like, I totally get that aspect of it, and to get like, I'm I not as much as you are with like taking courses and like studying it, but I am also very intrigued by how these different communities go about what they think is the best philosophy for long-term value. And I think it's slowly, and I don't even want to say surely because it's definitely not surely, but it's slowly and kind of clearly showing you during this bear market, the projects with which specific types of philosophies are the ones that aren't going anywhere. And a lot of the things we're saying now about theses of how you treat your community and what type of philosophy you have about getting people in and what you want to show off about that community, the ones that are leaning towards, kind of what we're saying are the ones that haven't gone anywhere during this bear market, which is exciting for, because bear markets test theses. So, the thesis of, people that are building can last, they were always saying that, but anyone can say that, during the
Right.
good markets. So now that the market's bad, the people that were chanting that and actually meant it that are still here, it's fun to see. How do we even get on that tangent?
I don't know, but I kind of liked it.
I think we were talking we went from the Zed token to
Yeah,
network states, but nah, it's
I love it.
this space is weird, man. It's cool. It's cool. Like I get excited for it. I get excited for it.
Besides lending, what else is possible with the token as SoFull gone?
See, that's again, like I'm a bad guy to answer because like I don't get stuff, but for me, I just see the token just legitimately replacing ETH. Like just anything you do with ETH, you just do with the token now. But Zed now has a native currency where some legality or some stuff that they're trying to do on the back end just works better with a native token that quote unquote has zero intrinsic value. But like, yeah, I'm kind of lost in terms of extra things that it will add other than what you're already doing with different currencies in the game?
I see, and I think they might have teased this in screenshots. They could have scrapped it all, but hey, enter in 5 races today and get 20 tokens. Breed in stable this month, get 5 tokens. I think it's a way for them to potentially drive action within the ecosystem. Now, whether people latch onto that and actually do it, like what is that risk reward? Does that make sense? Could this open up the door for gambling being the token? Maybe. I don't know. But kind of to your point, though, I think the word that comes to my mind is it provides flexibility in what they can do.
See, but like, and everything you said, I 100% agree with, but that's also like, from my standpoint, like not even the problem they have to solve with it. Like everything you said, like, yeah, they got to do that. They got to provide, you race this, you get the 20 free tokens and all that stuff. But it's the other end. Like they got to provide stuff that all that doesn't do is lower the cost of each individual token by just taking a market value that goes up and like dividing by supply that just got bigger. And that's what I struggle with, because everything on the other end of what you can actually do with it once you get it is stuff that, again, I think you can just do with ETH. So what then is making people hold on to it, other than like you got to do like the point of this from a general standpoint is what can we do that gets people to hold on to Zed token when they're not using it and transfer it to another currency? The really only options when you take it like that is staking. So then are they going to have like invitationals, like 4-month long things, like 3-month long qualification, 2-month long qualification, that like they're really just, it's a cool spin on staking. Like, hey, stake our coin for 6 months like other projects do, but because of the type of project Zed can do, it's like, hey, you're now in a tournament during those 6 months, or during those 6 months you get like 25% off breeding that then obviously comes from Zed's rake or something like that. It has to be you lock up the token, and then based on the number of tokens you lock up, multiplied in some formula by the amount of time you're willing to lock them up for, you get different incentives, because that's all it is. It's you need people to not go and sell what they're not using. Getting options for people to get free token, that's easy. Making options for people to use the tokens that are necessary for the game, that's easy, because it's every way we use ETH. It's how do people keep their balance in Zed token, and I guess staking really is it. But what type of things do you think, if you were to stake it for 6 months, would be good options for Zed to be like, hey, stake it for 6 months, you get what?
I really liked your breeding discount idea of like in-house breeds are now cheaper, even cheaper.
Or like you get the actual, like at the minimum, like give us the actual discount that you get for going in between 2 stables, right?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Right?
Like at the minimum, but like, yeah, like 75% in-house breeding, if you have like a certain amount locked up over a certain amount of time, like that's easy. I like that idea. Yeah. I've thought, and I don't know if we talked about it here, but I've mentioned it on Twitter, and it's not my idea. Someone else came up with it, and I still haven't figured out who came up with the genesis of the ideas. But Genesis horses, staking those for tournaments raises value. Like if you could stake Genesis horses for tournaments that you don't have to run in them, that creates value. Like say for a crazy juiced pot tournament, like you just need 20 Genesis horses. Like people that have 17 or 18, you're then going to buy a few. Things like that can kind of spark value. But yeah, if you want to use the token, the same idea. Like I think more so than tournaments, because of the amount of time you need, I think qualifiers actually work better for it. Like, hey, stake it for 2 months and there's an 8-week long tournament going on. That could work better. But yeah, either breeding or tournaments. Is there any like off like out of nowhere things that they could potentially offer?
I don't know, but thinking about like the tournaments and like staking for that, that affects, in my mind, like the 1/10 of 1%, the higher end of Zed. And if Zed introduces lending and tries to grow their player base, the incentive to there has to be a incentive to stake for lesser value stables.
Which breeding is we're definitely saying breeding is number one then, right?
I think so. I think it is.
Because no matter what, getting a huge discount in stable helps everybody. So that's
Correct.
definitely one. I agree with you that the tournaments maybe help some of the better ones. So what's kind of the secondary thing for smaller stables then?
Yeah, like I think that's the $1 million question. Is it? I don't know. Like catalysts are gone and not necessarily a good idea.
You know what it helps smaller stables with? If it allows burn. Oh, someone said burn. Sniff just said that. If a small stable like your horse, we're talking about it. If that say it was your horse isn't that bad, Big Jipper Ruby, but say it was a worser version and no one would buy it, and we're talking about like 0.05, you have 0.05 to breed that horse. We have say we turn that 0.05 into Zed token, then we burn big drip for Zed token. We take that, we stake that, we get like 75% like in-house breed. We take whatever leftover is, buy a cheap horse to start over from beginning, and now we're dealing with like much of a lower breed cost. That I think the burning, the ability because smaller stables, let's just call a spade, your inputs are worser, so your outputs are worser on average. So you're more likely having horses that can't be resold. How do you get those horses value? You give them a little bit of Zed token for them. And people don't realize, like, if you have a bunch of these ones and they give you a little token for each of them, it can add up to maybe a stakeability value that you get a huge discount, which is crazy. So I like that. I think burning is definitely the second one for smaller stables.
Yeah, and that could help everyone, but I think it's going to be, to your point, favor smaller stables more than bigger stables, more than a higher quality class.
Because you can resell.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yes, done. Love it.
What if we offered an easy down class option?
I don't like that because I think it's going to be abused. Maybe in the future, when there's incentive to move up in class, we've started to take some steps. It's not there yet. I like that in 6 months. I'd consider that.
It's also tough because big stables can use their good horses to get the token, but then use that token because they're, obviously one stable to do some of their lesser horses to class down, that now you have them going, let the big stable horses that are stuck in C1 stay in C1 and not be able to use the profits of the better horses to pay for them to class down. I think, I do like that thought process though from Jay Reese, in terms of that's like the out of the box. And I don't know if I have the answer right now as to what they should come up with, but I don't love the options of down class, but paying to do something that's like a little out of the ordinary. I hope they do have some things other than, anyone can come up with, the ideas we came up with: burning, tournaments, breeding. I'm hoping there is some out of the box, as easy as like an easy down class option or something like that. Sniff, I don't love the pet. Nothing to actually change the horse I don't like. I don't want you to be able to add any skill. Maybe you, I don't even know, like, is this a skill? You pay extra entry into a race for your gate to stay invisible.
Oh, that would be kind of
I
cool.
like your reaction to that. I like your reaction to that. Yeah, I just
That's
thought of
something
that.
I haven't heard.
Right, I just
I
thought
like
of
that.
that.
Premium for blind entry. Is
Right,
someone
like
bluff?
that's
It becomes poker at that point. Is
yeah,
someone
because
bluffing?
and that
Not.
solves the problem of like I've always thought that type of entry should be the people that want blind entry should be allowed to do it, and the people that don't want it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So, if you pay and like yeah, if you pay extra, you get blind entry, and then it's still up to the person. Like you still see that someone's in that gate and it's blank, so you can still take the option to pass if you don't know who it is. But a lot of people like will just be like, "Fuck it, I don't know who it is. I'll go in for it." But I think that's a good one.
What if you could also pay to reveal?
That's
Is
like
that taking it too far?
no, that's like a. I'm trying to think of the game, but it's like I played Monopoly Dealer. Like when you get Uno, in Uno, if I reversed you and then you throw the reverse card,
Yes,
it's
exactly.
reversing the
We keep throwing
reverse.
reverses at each other.
I don't like it. I mean, I do like it. I have a sneaky suspicion that one may be a little bit of a tougher sell
That's a
because
little
then
much.
people are gonna be like,
It's a
"Oh,
little much.
I paid to hide myself, and then other people are paying to reveal me." But there would be like revealers. There'd be stud snipers and race revealers.
Can
People
you
would just go
imagine
around and reveal
Zed Twitter?
people.
There's a revealer bot on Zed Twitter.
And that probably would be a thing because the races are on chain, so you could see the horse IDs, like even if it's hidden.
Oh,
where maybe that actually is the problem. Now that I think about it, anyone on chain could probably see horses in them just by looking at the API. But if there was ever a way to do it, I actually think hiding yourself in a race is a cool sync for Zed token. And just I don't know what else there is like that, but anything that doesn't change the intrinsic skill of the horse itself, I won't. I'm not going to sit here and say I'll agree with, but I'll probably listen to. Once the training and the stuff like that, I'm really out on that stuff. The horse's skill is the horse's skill in my eyes in this game.
So here's a curveball. Random idea. Before you race, so you breed a horse. Before you race your first race, you can pay Zed token to re-roll the color outcome of that horse.
Oh, exactly. Like that is like the low-hanging fruit of like what you just said is the perfect idea. Like there needs to be a million of those. Like just the easy syncs of like, or like you want to change your name. Something like that. But like
super coats breed cheaper.
Like when you pay to breed, it's what you just said is like legit perfect. The screen where it comes up, like when it pops up in your stable, there should legit be next to it like a plus whatever button for like re-roll of color. That's super easy. Yeah, that's legit perfect.
Oh, that'd be exciting.
Name one.
Or like a gender re-roll. Like the chance for it, not a guaranteed switch.
Again, as long as you put an accurate price to what people are valuing, how much, if you want a certain gender, that is like anything could be a sync as long as you make sure an accurate amount of Zed tokens has to be paid for that. Again, a perfect idea. Anything like that doesn't change like the actual racing and breeding ability. Like I'm fine with, changing gender and obviously the stud versus the mare, there is that difference, but the quality of what you produce wouldn't change. I'm all for it. Like I love that idea.
So here's I'm full of them right now. Okay, long term, because it's not out right now, but they've talked about this before, so this is nothing new. This isn't my idea, but I'm thinking of 2112 and how they have this beautiful marketplace concept that they're unveiling. This opens the floor, pun intended, for skin marketplaces, custom skins. Sell them for token, buy for token, set a token price. I'm thinking of, just all the different designers that are out in the space, people like Prospect, having the ability, assuming it meets certain guidelines, nothing profane, vulgar, whatever. And I think that could be really cool and just usher in a new era of creators.
I agree. Yeah, it gives them it's it's monopoly money at the end of the day, right? They're just creating it and like sending it out. So it really gives them this free money that they're creating from thin air that suddenly gets value to use how they see fit. So hopefully they take these ideas or have ideas better than ours and utilize them, because I think you used the word fulcrum, and I'm not sure what that means, but I think that means does it mean like an inflection point?
Yeah, like the tipping point. So like think of like a seesaw. It's like the triangle below the seesaw.
It's either going to be the best thing or the worst thing, right?
Yeah. How's it going to balance?
I used context clues to kind of. I agree.
Well done. Great.
I agree with that 100%. Like either way is going to be extreme. Like people are either going to be ecstatic or either people are going to be like, this freaking sucks. There's going to be no waiting. It's not going to be like wait and see what happens. Zed needs to kill the initial communication because people are going to dive deep into it. People are going to nitpick it. And they have to make sure that, their written original plan that they submit to the community is one that, they're willing to put their support behind, because it's not anything they can re-roll with the token. It's not, like resetting classes or anything like that. If the initial launch isn't great, then it's going to be something that who knows if they can ever recover from. So we're all rooting for it. At the minimum, I hope it's just a nice dividend that I can sell for some ETH and then put back into the game to breed some horses. But only time will tell, as we know on Novus Earth.
As always. All right, my last little pipe dream thought. I don't think the timing is great, but being able to use it in, I'm not going to name names, future VHS games.
Yeah. I think they actually
interoperability.
That.
I think they did too. Not my idea.
No, and I don't know for certain if they did, but I remember thinking that I read that but see, even that one is just more of like a promise, like, when we create something, but like I'm down for it and it needs to be. Like I'm fine with it just being a promise because that's all it can be right now if we're talking about future games. But I agree with you. That's the early mover advantage that Zed players get in VHS, where anything they do, the Zed token is some sort of currency in that game.
100%. Going back to the fulcrum point though, if that goes super high or that goes super low, that could have a ripple effect on those other games. So we'll see what happens. But it's exciting times.
Yeah, it is. It is.
All right, we have gone way over. Anything else you want to close out with tonight?
Yeah, I'll just plug if anyone here is watching and you're around tomorrow and racing horses, I'll be on with the Knights of Degen all night. The specific Zed segment is from 9 p.m. Eastern Time to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what the Knights are doing is they're throwing a free Zed tournament. You can enter up to 2 horses. It's Fibonacci for that 1 hour. Race as many races as you want, and it's free. And there's a prize pool of first place gets 0.1 ETH, second place gets 0.05, and third place gets 0.05. So I always tell people with this, if you're around and racing anyway, you might as well enter, put in your first 10, 15 minutes, your first 2 or 3 races. And if you're doing well, continue on with it. And if you're not doing well and don't think that, you can finish in the top 3 of a Blitz tournament, no need to stick around. But if you're racing anyway, it's free. It's on the Knights of Degen Twitter. You can look for it. There's a Google Doc that they made. All you got to do is put in your horse ID, your Discord name, your stable name. We'll add it to the tournament website. And again, it's tomorrow from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's a blitz, so it's as many races as you want with Fibonacci scoring. And
sweet.
It should be fun. But yeah, that's the last thing I got in regards to Zed this week.
Love a good Knights plug. My kind of announcement is next Monday. Lucky, I hope you can make it. I know it's a bit of a hike, but next Monday I will be doing. Zook will have to take next week off because I will be traveling.
Oh, let's go.
I will be doing possibly a live podcast with Unrecruited out in LA.
Oh, I saw that. I saw them tweet that. Yeah.
Yeah, Bergie's here. Let's go. Bergie's coming out. But yeah, Lucky, if you can make it, that would be awesome. Anyone else, if you're in the area, Bergie, if you know the name of the place off the top of your head, it's escaping me right now, but we'll be having a little get together, unrecruited Bergie, Firehouse. Hopefully Lucky will be there. I'm really, really looking forward to it.
No, that shit's fun, yo. At NFT NYC, I met like so many people. I met Keith. I met Kevin from Arbitrage. Nice. I met Weldy, who I loved. I met Prospect. I met Doughboy. I've already met Ryan or TK, but I got to see them again. I saw ECS. I met Donkey. I met King Trippy. There's like a million people that I met there, and I met Alex, NYC. There's so many people that I met. Yeah, meeting people face to face is the best part of all of this. So yeah, it's exciting that you guys are going to get to go out there and meet some cool people.
So excited. Yeah, hope you can, Lucky. Totally understand the Sherman and Sherman Oaks in LA. And then I'll also be tweeting out that Knights tournament tomorrow, Zook. But yeah, check our Twitter feeds, check out the Knights of DGen. And yeah, thank you, everyone. We will see you in 2 weeks for episode 9. Have a good one.
Have a great weekend.
Love you all. Thank you.